America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Commissioner Marks, if you would lead us in an opening.
Yes. Father, we simply ask you to bless our proceedings today, and that it be in your name.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, if you would call the roll.
Commissioner Webster,
Here.
Commissioner Holzhausen,
Here.
Commissioner McMaster,
Here.
Commissioner Garber,
Here.
Commissioner Marks,
Here.
Commissioner Plowman,
Here.
Chairman Root.
Here. All right, we'll move into the first opportunity for the public to address the board if anyone here has anything. All right, we will move into our COVID-19 emergency update with our health director and our emergency manager.
Thanks, Chairman Root. I want to give a brief update on the numbers. We're sending out daily press releases to keep the public informed of just what's happening. Everything's happening so fast that we felt we needed to go to daily briefings. Right now, 1,328 cases statewide, 15 deaths statewide, 0 cases in Shiawassee County as of this moment. There's been a lot of questions about Memorial Healthcare's testing, so I've got the latest numbers from Memorial Healthcare. 261 tests have been taken. 89 tests came back negative. The remaining tests are pending due to the laboratory backups. It's taking up to 7 to 10 days for some of these private labs. However, Memorial Healthcare has purchased equipment to do in-house testing. They hope to have that up and running by the end of the week. So once that is up and running, they should be able to get results within 4 hours in-house. As you've probably seen on some maps that Commissioner McMaster shared, the cases are focused in southeast Michigan. That seems to be where the worst area is. But we also have cases all around us. So we are continuing to operate under the premise that it's here because we know it is. So it's just a matter of time before we get the first case, and we'll handle it as such. Obviously, the governor's order came out yesterday for the stay home, stay in place order. Obviously, there's a number of exemptions to that. Lots of questions on that today. We are doing the best we can to work our way through that, and we will. Our EOC has been phenomenal. Our Emergency Operations Center, you will be getting at least a weekly report from them. You received your first one last night via email, and I'm just real proud of the way the team's responding. Obviously, county operations are closed, but there are some limited functions that are still going. Obviously, Sheriff, 911, Health, and some court functions. Appreciate everything you guys are doing and being so supportive. We're in unprecedented territory. I'm going to briefly just kind of show you a graph that has some modeling of numbers.
Just so you all know, I don't know how many of you checked your email. This is in your email box. I know some of you I got responses from. So if you know.
So what we're talking about here is the curve. Everybody's talking about the curve. If we do the proper steps of the social distancing and segregating ourselves, we will be able to lower the curve, which the curve is about the healthcare system. And that's what happened in Italy. It got overwhelmed because they didn't take the proper steps. And the healthcare system collapsed, and they have more deaths in Italy than they have in China. So we're not trying to be doomsday scenario here, but this virus is very contagious, and it can be deadly. And I also want to share that it's not just older folks that are getting it. There are a number of younger folks in that 20 to 49 range that have developed this virus, some of whom are on a ventilator. So let's take the proper steps to get through this. And hopefully, by doing this, we're going to make a difference and save lives. It's a sobering model, so I encourage you all to look in your inboxes. If you have any questions, we're going to have this posted we had it posted in the EOC. Dan's been very helpful.
Can you just do 2-3 sentences where the model's from, what it projects?
Yep. Epidemiologists did this model. It started with Barry Eaton County, and so they used math, obviously the science of the modeling, and we can incorporate our population into this algorithm, which tells us what we would project to get in terms of cases, whether we did nothing, whether we did social distancing, or whether we did the stay-at-home order. So each one of those steps changes the curve. Doing nothing, curve. Social distancing, level. Doing the more aggressive measures that you're seeing around the state takes that curve and levels it. And that protects our healthcare system, which right now has a major shortage of PPE. I just got off the phone with Memorial today, and it's tough, but it's tough for everyone. So I'm not trying to doomsday scenario here, but we've got to take this serious, folks. We have to. And I appreciate your support. I appreciate those that have been working with us. And I want to briefly turn it over to Mr. Weiss.
Can I ask you a quick question? So I looked at that chart, and I see there's two sets of numbers there. One is labeled 2010. Is that
Census data.
2010 census data? So the other chart was based on numbers from 2017. So the 2010 is included. Why?
Well,
Because that's the
it's
official
a
census
baseline. It's the
data?
official census data
Okay.
right now. And
But we're probably actually closer to the 2017, you think?
I would say,
Okay.
it's hard to say, I don't know what's going to happen with the census. That's a
Okay.
big deal right now, too.
Okay.
I keep getting the mail on that. I don't have time to
Okay.
answer it.
All right, thanks.
All right, go ahead, Jeff. I want to appreciate the social distancing that everyone's doing in here today, because this is leading by example. So, thank you.
Thanks, Larry. Mr. Chairperson and board members, thank you for coming in on such short notice for the emergency meeting today. As you know, on the agenda is to extend our emergency declaration, which I anticipate this board will take action on. Shiawassee County has led the way in our area on what we've done so far. Larry Johnson, the health department, has made decisions early on. The county has made decisions on, and this board has made decisions early on. And I think the fact that we still have no cases in our county shows that we've led the way and we're doing a great job. However, as Mr. Johnson said, this is a scary pandemic and this is a scary issue. And as a board, as a government, as a health department, we'll be here for our citizens and lead by example. The Emergency Operations Center has been active on a daily basis. Staff arrives very early in the morning and we leave very late at night. There's a lot of things behind the scenes that is not immediately seen in the public eye that we send media releases out for, but many things that we're doing. We encourage people to keep calling the resource hotline, the 989-743-2460 number. That is operational from 9 to 4 every day. As this pandemic goes on, and as with the governor's declaration or executive order 2020-21, we're going to see an increase in needs from our citizens. We're going to see a request for elderly people that can't get out and get their medications, people that just can't take care of basic functions that they need assistance with. So that's what the Emergency Operations Center is there for, and we'll process those resource needs and assign people to them. So part of the Executive Order 2020-21, we've been receiving a lot of calls on, should I stay open? Should I go out and do this? And this is the standard that we're going to use. And this is directly from the Governor's Executive Order, page 3, section 6. Is it necessary to sustain or protect life? And that's what the business, we're urging businesses to ask themselves. Is it necessary to sustain or protect life? We're starting already. We've seen today a lot of questions from businesses that are calling it, can I stay open? And we're going to refer them back to those two things. Because at this time, it is to sustain or protect life. So thank you. If you have any questions, direct them to Larry or myself at the health department. As status quo, the health department is the lead. They're the incident command on this system, or on this pandemic, and they're the authority. You did receive an incident action plan via your email. That is for, I'm sorry, Commissioner McMaster's passed it out to you. That will give you a snapshot of some of the things that we're doing in the Emergency Operations Center. That's for your reference. only. So if you have any questions on what we're doing or our protocols, please get with myself or Mr. Johnson will ask those. Are there any questions of the board? Yes, sir.
I got one for Larry. I heard that the hospital could test people and get it back quicker and send it into the lab. Is that misinformation?
Yeah, the hospital has a backup of tests because of the delays in the private labs. So they have a number of tests that are pending that have not been tested yet. I mean, the people have been tested, but they've not been able to process them at the lab. So once Memorial gets their in-house testing up and running, hopefully by the end of the week, they're gonna be able to do it within 4 hours, in-house.
That's the end of the week, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's what I heard. I
Yeah.
wondered if I heard that right.
And as we continue, and you bring up a really good point, Commissioner Holzhausen, that rumor control is so important right now. On social media, we see a lot of rumors being put out there. As EOC, we do have people monitoring social media, and we try and find those rumors and dispel them and give them attention right away. So rumor control at this point in the game is huge. The authority comes from the health department or the emergency operations center. We authenticate any messages that we put out, and the information that we put out is accurate. So I would urge you to follow either one of our Facebook pages and have your constituents follow those as well. That's where the authority comes from. Yes, sir.
I know maybe the public can't hear you when I talk, but maybe you could say what Memorial Hospital, what their the end of the month is, so they can public could hear it.
Okay,
Can you repeat that?
I'll refer that to
Oh,
Mr. Johnson.
I didn't know if the public could hear you way over there.
Yep.
So.
So Gary's question is regarding the testing at Memorial. Obviously, we gave the current numbers. There's a backlog because of the laboratory not being able to process the tests because of they're overwhelmed. Memorial Healthcare has purchased equipment and hopes to be up and running by the end of the week to do in-house testing. So that we can confirm.
Thanks.
Thanks, Gary.
All right, thank you. This time we'll move to consider extending the county state of emergency. At this time, I would ask that we extend this to April 30th, just to be on the safe side. We're already, the governor's is till April, her shutdown's till April 13th, I believe, and we're just gonna go till April 30th, just to be on the safe side, so.
So moved.
Support.
Motion and support, extend the emergency declaration. Any discussion? We'll do a roll call.
Commissioner Holzhausen,
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster.
Yes.
Commissioner Garber,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks,
Yes.
Commissioner Plowman,
Yes.
Commissioner Webster,
Yes.
Chairman Root.
Yes. All right. State of emergency will be extended until April 30th, as of today. Then we'll move to consider extending the hours of the emergency manager and the assistant. Though I don't think this was really needed, I just wanted to make sure we covered ourselves completely. Obviously, our assistant Gabby and emergency manager Jeff are going to be in there probably 40 hours, if not more, at some point in time. So we want to make sure that we authorize that both of them are being paid at least their 40, and if they go over, they'll be compensated for their time over 40.
So moved.
Support.
A motion, support, discussion on this. All right, roll call again, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner McMaster.
Yes.
Commissioner Garber,
Yes.
Commissioner Marks.
Yes.
Commissioner Plowman.
Yes.
Commissioner Webster,
Yes.
Commissioner Holzhausen,
Yes.
Chairman Root.
Yes. Approved as well. Funding for the daily operations of the Emergency Operations Center. This is something that as we continue to get into it, there becomes more and more expenses with that. We would like to authorize up to at least $100 a day.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
A motion and support. Discussion on this.
I can speak on this. This is, I mean, at any one time, we could have 5, 10, 15, 20 people or more of Larry's employees and other county employees, volunteers, other members of the community that are serving in the EOC. What this does, it would allow the group to stay in for lunch. So the food that's coming in is all coming from one source. and they would allow for any other little incidental expenses that maybe have to be purchased for day-to-day operations. There is talk of maybe decreasing the number of staff down there, so this, although we're approving up to $100 for every day, it might be 5 days, it might be 6 days, it might be 7 days, it might be 2 days. It might be 5 people one day, it might be 20 people the next day. So that's why we do up to 100. 100 would be the max. That's about the cost that the center is incurring right now per day.
Does that cover anticipate, I mean, is that gonna be a steady, or will there need to be more? mean,
I
is that-
don't ever
is
see,
that a-
I don't ever see it increasing above that. As we, and I guess if Larry and Jeff want to speak on this, as we continue, there's been conversations about decreasing the number of people in the
We
EOC.
reduced the EOC and separated it up more so that though some of the people may be still in the same building, we don't want them all confined in the EOC. The numbers will decrease now with the extension of the county closure, for the number of people that are actually working here, but that covers it. King will probably hit it, but
Anything else?
Is this for the duration of the emergency declaration? And then we would re-extend it after? I mean,
Yes.
obviously, $100 a day, 30 days, you're talking, that's $3,000 right there. I'd just like to know that there's an end date to it, that we would re-up if we need.
Yeah, I would say to the end of the declaration, but like I said, you can game plan it out for 35 days, but I can tell you, one of two things are gonna happen. If you're there 7 days a week, you're not gonna have, I mean, either way, you're not looking at a maximum of 35 days, because some days they're not gonna meet, and then the population size of the group is gonna continue to get smaller, so.
Anything else? Roll call vote again?
May I ask for clarification? So you're doing up to $100 per day. Are you going to have an end date, or are you just?
Yeah, I'll put that in my motion. Up to April 30th. I mean, by then we would know if we had to extend it or not.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Garber?
Yes.
Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Plowman?
Yes.
Commissioner Webster?
Yes.
Commissioner Olshausen?
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster?
Yes.
Chairman Root?
Yes. And then our last thing, consideration of contract employee services for the emergency. We do have an individual that's down there that's been working since it began. He's the one that's put together this incident action plan, obviously with the help of staff down there, but he's the one that's kind of been taking the charge and leading this. So all you see here in this plan, the stuff that he's created and put together. So we just want to make sure we can contract with this individual to make sure that for his time during the emergency that he's compensated something. So we would go at $15 an hour, up to 40 hours, no more than 40, for the duration of the emergency, with the idea that the health department will be looking to cover that. And all of these, what I would, actually, if I have a motion.
So moved.
Support.
Support Plowman, all right. Then
Who
what
is
else I
this?
would say is this contract employee, the operation of the emergency center, any extended hours to the emergency manager and the assistant, anything that we're expensing right now, we are gonna keep track of, we are gonna watch for, and during and under the state of emergency, look at the Section 19 funding to hopefully have some reimbursement from the state come in if we're expending over resources that we are not normally planning on spending, which all of these would be, items we didn't budget or we didn't plan on, so we will look for reimbursement. Whether we get it, we don't know, but, certainly, the tornado, we got reimbursement, but the tornado was isolated. This is everyone in the state of Michigan, so I don't know what our luck will be. Hopefully, we'll get it back, but we will be keeping track of everything that is spent to submit for reimbursement.
Where is this contract employee from? Is it a local firm or a?
That's a good question, Commissioner Webster. Tim Crane, when this started on March 9th, was when we kind of started ramping up the Emergency Operations Center. There was one person that I called to assist us, and that's Tim Crane. And that is the person that we would contract with that this motion is made for. Tim comes to us with qualifications that meet or exceed my own. He is a professional emergency manager designation through MSP and HSD. He holds qualifications for amateur radio. He is a trainer in MySims, which is integral to the pandemic with the state. MySims is the vehicle that we use to put in our resource needs with the state. MySims is how we communicate with the state emergency operations center during the duration of this pandemic. So Tim is a trainer in MySims. He's actually trained our staff to help him out because it gets overwhelming. He's very knowledgeable, and without him in our emergency operations center, it would make life much more difficult for myself and Larry. Any other questions?
No, I just think it's a quality of a good leader to know what your limits are and to know who to bring in
It
as an
is.
expert. And so
And-
I applaud you for doing that.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Appreciate it.
Sure. So if I could add, I worked with Tim a year ago at this time. He was brought in, he served as a volunteer when we had the whole Vernon tornado situation. We are in a unique situation, unlike the tornado situation where all of our surrounding counties poured in resources. Everyone's kind of on their own for this situation. So he has been a great help down there. He was a great help the other night to Judge Stewart. He's helped with messaging, help getting press releases, and just doing all sorts of stuff. So we are obviously very limited. We're a small county, and it's been a great benefit to have him down there. So
As a
it's well
caveat,
worth it.
thank you, Commissioner McMasters. And as a side note, I was the first to call Tim. After I called, he received 3 other calls from other counties. So,
He's in demand.
he's in demand, and I think it's only fair we compensate him. Thank you.
Anything else? Roll call vote, please.
Can I have some clarification? So it's 15 an hour up to 40, no more than 40? And then there was a little bit of discussion as to reimbursement, or you just leave it at that, and that was just
Yeah, the
comments?
reimbursement was just my comment,
Okay,
that all these items will be subject to that.
okay. Commissioner Marks?
Yes.
Commissioner Plowman?
Yes.
Commissioner Webster?
Yes.
Commissioner Olshausen?
Yes.
Commissioner McMaster?
Yes.
Commissioner Garber?
Yes.
Chairman Root?
Yes, that motion's approved. All right, at this time, we will stand adjourned. Thank you for,
If I could, Chairman, that section E, if you want to, also include the possibility of authorizing contract services or employees for cleaning or something